Today, we're taking a hard look at a piece of financial advice literally almost everyone gets in their 20s. Stop throwing your money away on rent and buy a starter home, right? We've all heard it. But when we actually dig into the source material and the raw math, is buying young really an automatic financial win? Let's jump right in and find out.
Okay, so holding the keys to a starter home at 25, it looks fantastic on paper, and let's be honest, it looks amazing on social media. But beneath the surface, the actual real-life trade-offs are way more complex than what society tells you. Today, we're going to explore some of these hidden costs and uncover exactly why tying up your cash in a down payment might actually limit your overall growth during your most dynamic years.
When deciding if a house is affordable, almost all the attention goes straight to the monthly mortgage payment. But comparing rent directly to a mortgage, that is a fundamentally flawed equation. The mortgage is just the visible tip of the iceberg, and it completely obscures the true financial drains lurking right underneath.
Your monthly housing cost is actually divided up into several absolutely unavoidable slices. You've got the mortgage, sure, but you also have hefty slices for property taxes, homeowner's insurance, and the big one, unplanned maintenance. Think about it. When a pipe bursts at 2 in the morning, or the water heater just completely gives out, there is no landlord to call anymore. That emergency plumber fee comes directly out of your pocket, usually with zero warning.
To put a hard number on that maintenance slice, financial planners actually use a pretty consistent rule of thumb. You need to budget roughly 1 to 2% of your home's total value every single year just for unexpected repairs. So let's say you have a $400,000 home. That's $4,000 to $8,000 annually, right out the window. This catches a lot of young buyers entirely off guard, especially if they literally drain their savings just to make the down payment.
But beyond the broken water heaters and the leaky roofs, there is a much larger hidden cost that rarely gets discussed, and that's opportunity cost. When you put a massive chunk of money down on a home, it isn't just spent, it is redirected. So the real question we have to ask is, what is that money missing out on while it's basically trapped in the foundation of a house?
Just imagine taking $50,000 in cash, or whatever your specific down payment might be, and locking it away in a single property. Boom. That capital is no longer liquid, it is no longer nimble. Instead of working for you in a variety of different ways, it is now permanently tied to the hyperlocal real estate market of one specific neighborhood in one specific city.
To be mathematically honest with ourselves, we have to look at two parallel universes. In universe A, you build home equity. In universe B, you take that exact same $50,000 down payment and let it grow in a diversified market fund over the exact same period of time. This is a crucial, absolutely vital step that most conventional home buying advice completely skips over.
And guess what? There is absolutely no universal winner between those two universes. Historically, home prices and stock returns move very differently. Which one actually wins out depends entirely on your specific local housing market and the broader economic conditions during your specific timeline. A booming Sunbelt city is going to have totally different math than a quiet Midwestern town,
Which brings us directly to the absolute crux of why a down payment limits your overall growth. At 25, your greatest asset isn't your equity, it's your flexibility. Renting has a massively underrated advantage here. A sudden career promotion in a totally new city, a change in a relationship, or just a random desire to try out a different environment. These life-accelerating moves are dramatically easier when you aren't tied down.
Just think about the friction involved in moving. Ending a lease, it's relatively seamless. You basically pack up and go. But selling a home? Oh man, that comes with massive friction. You are suddenly dealing with agent commissions, closing costs, and a highly unpredictable time on the market. If you buy a house and have to sell it within just a couple years, those transaction costs can literally wipe out any equity you've managed to gain.
Being anchored to one location is a very real hidden tax on your trajectory. Imagine having to pass on your absolute dream job across the country simply because you can't sell your house in time. That immobility completely stifles your personal and professional growth. It's an enormous cost, even if you can't easily put an exact dollar figure on it, like you can with a mortgage payment.
Now, to be totally fair, none of this means buying young is universally a bad call. We aren't sitting here saying you should rent forever. But what the data actually shows is that it requires a very specific set of circumstances to genuinely be the superior financial choice, rather than just assuming it's an automatic win by default.
Buying tends to make the most sense only when you hit two major benchmarks. First, you have a separate, fully funded emergency reserve so a broken roof doesn't instantly put you in debt. And second, you have absolute confidence that you will stay in that exact same home for at least 5 to 7 years. You need that much time for the property value to appreciate enough to absorb all those massive transaction costs of eventually selling.
Ultimately, you just cannot rely on generic national averages or default societal pressure from your parents or peers. You have to run the honest comparison for your own life. Housing costs and rent-to-price ratios vary enormously between U.S. cities. Heck, they vary wildly between neighborhoods in the exact same zip code.
So if you're on the fence right now, here is your toolkit. Step 1. Run your specific area through a local rent versus buy calculator to see the raw math. Step 2. Explicitly add that 1 to 2% maintenance rule right on top of the quoted mortgage. And Step 3. Be brutally honest with yourself about your timeline.
And actually, that third step is vital. If there's any meaningful uncertainty about staying in your city for the next several years, that uncertainty alone should weigh heavily against buying. Even if the raw numbers lean slightly toward buying, the very real risk of getting trapped in an immobile asset during your highest growth years changes the equation completely.
It all boils down to this. Renting at 25 isn't automatically wasteful, and buying isn't automatically smart. It comes down to whether trading your most flexible years for a down payment is actually worth it. Are you building a rock-solid foundation, or are you just trapping your capital and your mobility? That is the ultimate question you have to answer before signing on the dotted line. Are you sacrificing your biggest growth years for a mortgage, or are you investing for ultimate flexibility? Before you let anyone tell you that renting is just throwing money away, ask yourself, what is the true hidden cost of staying in one place?